You are the bridge between traditional finance and technology, right? So what's the main problems and you and your team are solving?
There are lots of problems. There's a problem number one. It's a very fragmented, disjointed world. Every country, every region might have own rules, how they go about to collect your money. And there are different regulators. They require something else. Some of the products might be not deployable or supported in regions. It's evolving very quickly, Evelyn. You know, in a couple of last years, we went through so many changes. As soon as something happens, goes wrong or south, it explodes. Yep.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Ctrl Shifter, the podcast by SmartDev and Versa AI, featuring voices that take control and drive the ship. And today we are diving into one of the most complex and fast-moving part of fintech, cross-border payments. And to help us unpack it, we've got someone who has seen money movement from every possible angle, Jan Lorenc, CEO of CurrencyFair. So to give you a bit overview of CurrencyFair, this is a fintech focused on cross-border payment and foreign exchange for individuals and SMEs. And Jan's career has spanned in treasury, in global banking, sales, card acquiring. And now he's leading the CurrencyFair mission to make international transfer simpler, fairer, and scalable across Europe, APAC, and the Americas. Jan, great to have you on Ctrl Shifter. Thank you very much for joining us. So before jumping in, is there anything you would like to share with our audience?
Hi, Evelyn. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's great to speaking to you and to your audience. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much. So the quick intro you made into CurrencyFair was actually spot on. We are indeed, you know, in the market since 2010. So proper dinosaurs in that space of fintech. Actually, we launched in 2010, which was back after, if you remember, 2008, you know, the banking bubble, credit crisis, post Lehman and everything. So we launched our cross-border FX platform back then in difficult kind of treasury times. So that was perfect intro. Maybe quickly to my background, Evelyn. I am with the company around a year. And my background is mixed bag of, you know, skills and experiences, you know, spanning from the typical old-fashioned treasury dealing, deposit, money markets, you know, banking, trading over to at later stage of my career to, you know, FX, card acquiring, and blockchain. So, you know, the combination of the traditional finance, if you like, and then the combination of the blockchain and new technology and to combine together allows me to help to develop, drive, especially around the cross-border payment with the team in CurrencyFair.
Cool, amazing. So you've kind of like touched every part of how money's moved across the border.
Yes, well, exactly. Not by choice. It just happened by my kind of own development. But when you think about it, you start with plain vanilla deposit. You connect the dots between bank to bank transfers. You touch on the forwards and FX and exchange, which is the oldest market in the world. And the biggest potentially still. And then you're moving across to blockchain, card acquiring, and different fintech companies. That's right. So basically to lift that through and see how the mechanics works, just helps you gives you the helicopter perspective or the unique perspective to guide the teams and the product and the expansion for the team. So yeah, that's right.
Cool. So I'm a bit curious, like how did those earlier roles shape the way you lead CurrencyFair today?
You know, it's a good question, and it just you know, built on the experience and different teams you had, and driven by product and different times as well and challenges. It shapes you. If you are in sales, you learn a lot about your clients and customers and businesses, their pain points, how they operate, what they need. You learn to listen and to adapt to the challenges, and you at the same time you try to read also the next steps and what might they need. And if you operate at the cross-border level, you know, the list is very long in terms of challenges. So because you have different teams, different time zones, different product, regulatory challenges. It's all so fragmented. So you need to adapt very quickly with different teams, different time zones, different cultures. So you learn a lot, but you learn as well how to navigate where the flows might be the strongest, weakest, where the challenge might lies, and you pivot the strategy accordingly. So being in those angles of treasury and money movement helps a lot to prepare the next steps and strategy for the team.
So initially you mentioned about you yourself, you are the bridge between traditional finance and technology, right? So what does that look like in practice for you? Is that mindset or specific projects or the way you structure your teams or decisions?
It's actually, all the above. As you mentioned, if you understand the traditional finance, which has been in the market for 40 years and plus, especially on the cross-border, especially around the SWIFT mechanics when you go, cross-borderly, and the old structure, which worked well, for years in terms of bank-to-bank-to-bank transfers cross-borderly, and different notifications and messaging being sent to allow the money land. So that's one aspect. The blockchain, the bridge you're referring to, is kind of to know the mechanics. When I'm referring to blockchain, I'm just thinking of within the space of cross-border, within the space of transfer banking. So, the blockchain mechanics kind of replacing to a degree the old-fashioned SWIFT system. And you have that transparency, you have the record, you don't need too many hands in between the actual transfer, which speeds up things and improve the customer experience as well. So it's the mechanics of the behind the scene of the cross-border helped me a lot to understand, which way is probably the most efficient. That's one. Two, global coverage, it's very challenging for everybody, and you don't have one solution that fits them all. So there might be some corridors, that's the blockchain mechanics, or maybe if you like the stablecoin piece fits more, rather than you have a typical well-established corridors, maybe US, UK to Europe, where the space is somewhat limited for new technology. So you need to be adaptable and flexible at the same time as well. But being in those segments and verticals helps a lot, at least to develop some practical feel for it. Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit into what you will focus now. When it comes to CurrencyFair mission today, what's the main problems and you and your team are solving for your customers?
Well, where to start, Evelyn? There are lots of problems, lots of challenges. So, in fintech, it's an ever evolving ecosystem. So it's just fast and furious. So you're looking at, ideally you have coverage in terms of for customers like you and me, but also for businesses everywhere. To achieve this, there's a problem number one. It's a very fragmented, disjointed world. Every country, every region might have own rules, how they go about to collect your money or settling your money. And there are different regulators. They require something else. Some of the products might be not deployable or supported in regions. CurrencyFair started really in the past as a kind of P2P, consumer to consumer, sending money across the board, slightly bigger amounts. But with the team support, you always have kind of that support and the confidence and trust that everything is on time. But we're shifting towards, and that's the challenge as well, towards businesses. So supporting businesses, exporters, example, or I don't know, different verticals like shipping and agriculture, kind of exporting and have exposure to different countries. That's where we come in. That's we go and expanding to APAC. We expanding to America. We are in America and Canada and Latam and Europe. But to have a solution ideally for the businesses where you have all the regions covered, the payment is very fast. Ideally, in real time, which is a challenge. And then obviously the cost is kind of cut down to the bone. And in some segments, the trust is very important. Yeah, the timing of the payment is very important rather than the pricing itself. So those are the challenges. And, how you can go about it is you might think, okay, I gonna open office and have a license in every country under the sun, which is very difficult, very costly. You need to maintain that and so lengthy. It's a process, very cumbersome and takes so long. We have licenses in 5 countries directly. So that means we are licensed in Hong Kong and Singapore, in Canada, Australia, in Ireland, covering the EEA countries in Europe. And I think that's it. And then obviously we're operating in other countries with our partners. So how does it work? We operate under the licensed company umbrella in the markets. So let's say USA, the UK, and so on and so forth. Basically, it gives you the access to the market, it gives you the access to the local method of payments and the banking schemes, which is the fastest way to transfer and cheapest. And then you can support businesses to collect locally and settle locally for them as well. So the licensing is one piece. You can work directly on the licensing. You can work with partners. Then you have the piece when you're onboarding clients, businesses, you need to know your customer. So KYC, KYB, compliance, risk, it's always a challenge. Ideally, you have everything run via API, call automated once onboarding. So that's the ideal scenario. And you're developing your technology on that part as well, because you have a different method of payments in different regions. Is a QR code, is something else. So those challenges we try to solve and going through it. To note, as I said, there's no one solution that fits them all. There's no one provider covering the whole globe. So we are really partnerships-led proposition. So we work with partners. We enjoy it. We like it. And it allows us to spread more into more jurisdictions and kind of covering regions where you are not licensed yourself. So those challenges are, I think, not only for CurrencyFair, but for most of the companies working the cross-border money movements. Yeah.
I really love the combination you said between innovation, technology, and customer trust as well. So this industry is one of the rare industry where customer, they want speed, but the regulators, they want control. But, trust stand in the middle, right? Become a bridge.
Exactly. And you got it absolutely right there, because look, if you put yourself into shoes that you're transferring money yourself. So let's say you have a student fee, college fee, or you have a mortgage, you have a house invested into, or, some bigger tickets. So for you will be important the price naturally, but also the trust and the money will be there straight away, kind of reconciled and lands. If you're sending small amount of money on a weekly basis back and forth, then the pricing is probably more important than the trust. So depending on the actual amount you're sending across the board. Yeah. And from business perspective, speed. So trust as well, obviously, but for them it's important. It has to land yesterday, which is always the challenge, isn't it? So, and then there are different technologies to support it and different corridors, but absolutely right. So the trust is so important, and the regulations are important. You have a lot of compliance. If you are a regulated entity, you are exposed to lots of monitoring, scrutiny, lots of meetings, and talking to the regulators. You've been invited and justifying pieces. So that's the trust building as well. That's the safeguarding, kind of the ring fencing that you build for your clients and businesses, and because we're in business since 2010, it's a track record that we've been doing something correctly for such a long time. Yeah, but you're right.
So CurrencyFair is being a global provider, so it brings a lot of hidden complexity, like different license, data protection rules, compliance expectation, right, and risk framework. So I'm curious, how do you keep things simple for the customer while dealing with that level of complexity behind the scene?
Yeah, so it is, look, by nature, we are very business customer focused, centric. So that's a key. So to make it simple, fast and transparent, it is just a vision here, right? If you're onboarding clients 4 or 5 times, if you're pulling the clients through difficult onboarding, if the client doesn't have the great experience on the app or web to use it, you're losing the clients, because the market is very saturated. You have lots of competition at, so it's a choice of providers. If something doesn't work, there are delays, or something is not easy to use, you're gonna lose potential clients. Two, if you make a mistake or the transaction gets delayed or lost, then it needs to be chased up on and justifying, you're going to lose also the clients, because the choice from the consumers and businesses is huge these days. So they can switch, they can swap, they can decide whatever they want to go with. So it's so important and vital for businesses that all the aspects of the flow, so the customer experience, the actual flow and the settlement are delivered 100%, because you're going to lose it. And to create the loyalty, it's so important. So for us, the compliance, we are kind of embracing it. There's no other way around it, but we try to make it as simplistic as possible, if that makes sense.
Very amazing to hear the behind the scene challenges, but CurrencyFair still keep the customer centric focus. So let's zoom in a little bit about your leadership lens for a moment. So from your perspective, what are the consistent leadership challenges you faced in scaling a regulated cross-border payments business?
That's a very good point. As you know, these days, most of businesses are multinational. They are scattered around the globe, and they have exposure to the teams are sitting in different time zones. It's a cultural difference as well. So leadership, the challenges are, how do you ensure that you bring the mission and vision of your company across everybody at the same time, with a plain language, and that everybody can kind of buy in, but is motivated and see the next step and where we're going next. So that's challenge one. Two, I think it's about to have the right talent as well across the globe with you. So it's all about people. It's all about the team at the end of the day. Within fintech, we're focusing on having people that they are open, they're flexible. They most likely are not coming from, banking ecosystem where, I have nothing against bank. We have a robust banking platform with a background, but normally those people tend to be siloed in terms of their experience and their tasks. And the task is given on the day and they execute. But within the fintech grow, it's more fluid. It's changing. So, the task could be, changing day by day. They can be shift those posts, going to different markets, onboarding, to think about product going forward, technology to use, how we go about it. You need to be really innovative, almost to travel with some kind of entrepreneurship hat on, rather than to be kind of waiting to somebody tell you, hey, Evelyn, you have to do X, Y, Z, and then we tick the box at the end of the day, and we move on to a different task. No, so that's different. So it's talent, then, the educational piece, bring a team together as well, having different huddles, having different kind of teams meetings. And it's all about the actual communication as well, that makes sure that we pull in the same direction. So lots of trainings goes in as well for those reasons. It's still, in globally fragmented and segmented. I have to say, I do still prefer kind of the human touch and come with the team together and just bond together because, yourself, if you're chasing a task, it takes 25 million emails, and 2 weeks later, you're still chasing somebody with the email. But if you meet in a room, you can solve the problem in 2 minutes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand the importance of face-to-face and human touch.
No, absolutely. I mean, we come maybe to topic of technology and AI and agentics and the blockchain. We touched on blockchain, but I think the human touch is so important for somebody more, for somebody less. But I think at the end of the day, to get the feel for the company, the actual mission and where we're going, and to be part of the team, it's just important to come together at some stage as well.
All right. So in terms of managing company across diverse market and cultures, so each country have different legal, cultural context, and how do you maintain that consistency across the market while you still respecting the local context, the local nuance?
That's very important. So how we go about this is basically when you split the countries for us where we are directly licensed. So I'm thinking kind of out loud as Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, Canada, Ireland. So I'm based in Ireland, Dublin here, so on and so forth. In those countries, you need to have people on the ground, first and foremost, offices, and you need to have that interaction with the market. Now, so that's one. So that will dictate for us how we go about the selection of people and talent and what we need, but also it just basically brings the team together in those regions. So that's one kind of work. Then, so managing these people, it's it's always challenging, enjoyable, but challenging. As we discussed, it's an educational training piece. Make sure that everybody knows where we're going at every time given, that we know what's the strategy, what are the next steps. It sounds easy, but it's very difficult to really reinforce this kind of on a monthly basis, and that's one aspect. So we creating kind of leaders as well in those hubs, if you like, locally, which they have the local knowledge, local network, and they know teams and they're well networked and connected. Then you have also the aspects more external where you work in a market with partners that allowing you to access those markets. So it's a different selling perspective. It's a different lens because it's also educational, but also kind of managing that relationship in long term. It could be a difficult task. It could be a hurdle. So it depends. So where we have the licenses is the team approach. The local knowledge, absolutely vital and important to us. Where we managing that kind of remotely, if you like, via partnerships, it's purely based on the business relationship that CurrencyFair has with that licensed company. But at the end, it's all educational communicational piece. So I agree, it depends, but it's a team-driven approach combined with kind of the product educational piece.
So I understand that we have to adapt to a specific region, but besides that, what are some like non-negotiables that you keep the same every region, everywhere?
I don't know, openness, readiness, transparency, enthusiasm. So, and to be a very positive human being. I think that's a key. That's a key. Imagine, that you're talking to somebody who every single answer will be no and maybe, and I don't know. So you need to have kind of somebody who is engaging well, who is enthusiastic, who obviously the fact that he's kind of knowing a little bit the background and we can develop and grow. But I think that the person has to be very enthusiastic, switched on, ready to go, and open to new challenges. That's important. For us, is that the age is not important, the sex is not important, but those aspects are the key to maintain kind of the drive kind of developing. Yeah.
Let's move a little bit into technology. So there are some technology trends that are reshaping the cross-border payments, right? So in your opinion, what technologies or innovations you think are really reshaping this industry right now?
Look, so you have a couple of things actually reshaping the cross-border flows. You can look at, initially the old-fashioned but well-established and still a key is kind of the API technology, which is important. So the API is basically how fintechs and different PSPs and banking institutions and all the players kind of communicate to each other. So that's very important. It's fully automated from the risk and compliance perspective, a very clean version. And you can modify it, you can build it. You can have the flows in terms of payments on it, transactional flows. You can also have, the compliance KYC, KYB piece incorporated. So that's the API piece. Also depends on, built on this and depending on geography. So let's say the kind of the open banking piece in the background is important as a product-led campaign. So, in the US, it's a very interesting. It's in the EEA, so in the European countries, very interesting because the open banking in the background for CurrencyFair as a cross-border allows you to pull the funds from the clients. They can expand more banking kind of providers on the back of it. They don't need to leave the app. So open banking would be very interesting. The white label solution for some startups and neobanks, kind of again maybe kind of based on the API kind of signature is important. So I'm thinking of, let's say, neobanks and startups that will incorporate CurrencyFair on their platform, but fully white labeled, but leveraging from our reach and FX and cross-border kind of setup. And then obviously we need to also set that you have the AI aspect and you have the stablecoin blockchain aspect. So the blockchain definitely in fully fledged and expanding technology is major player, major change in cross-border kind of ecosystem. So that's a kind of targeting more the Swift setup, so which we discussed a little bit, I mentioned, but it's kind of making that much more easier in terms of recording, filing, transparency. It's filed, but it's very fast, it's very cheap. And if you have the scenario that you add to the stablecoin, kind of the wallet-to-wallet transfer, it's instant, it's incredibly fast and transparent. So that's the way we kind of aspiring to. On the AI piece, it's more kind of improving the transactional monitoring, possibly. So where you have automated kind of cross-check and validation of endpoints. Also helps that with, which we might also discuss, is around the topic of agentic. So that means, it's autonomous decision of a agent on your behalf to execute the payment. So basically, at the moment, you have a lot of experience with AI in terms of, find me this, come back to me with the kind of, evaluation of this, or write for me this, and record for me that. But the agentic works then a step further, where they actually make the consideration and they make the decision and they execute. So example would be on the AI technology that's shaping this space now in a very fast pace would be you, Evelyn, thinking about, hey, Siri, can you actually buy or book for me holidays for next summer in Ireland? No, I wouldn't book holidays in Ireland because it's raining all the time. But let's take it as an example. And then would you do it? So that means that your agent goes out, selects, find a location. Now, there could be interaction between different agents, by the way, as well. Find a location, find a hotel and place, go and kind of select the price. And actually then the last step is consider the price and book it for you. So that payment cross-borderly. So this is kind of very hugely kind of looked at the moment. How legally and risk and compliance-wise this could be, because in my situation that something goes wrong, who will be responsible for what, which agent and who, but also kind of, and then you have the situation on the payment side, how do you make sure that the payment is linked to that agent in a proper way, decision making. Look, I've been to panel, I think it was 2-3 weeks back, and the discussion was, I think, was with Visa and other players were on the panel with us, and we've been discussing, would you trust? So it was audience of, let's say, 50 people there from payments, so all experienced kind of payment peoples and gurus and everything. The question I kind of was asked, would you trust an agent to make for you that call, that payment? Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but I am thinking about if the average price ticket, if the payment is maybe a small value, order me a dinner, order me a pizza like last time, I would be probably happy. But if you kind of, let the decision making away from, let's say, holidays, car, college, the trust might be still not there. You would like that human touch in between still. Yes. Yeah. So those technologies are definitely shaping that cross-border payment in big style at the moment and before and going forward in the future.
Is there any particular region, like APAC, US, or EU, where the innovations like faster?
This is a good point. I think APAC is very interesting. I think APAC has a lots of alternative method of payments, lots of QR code based kind of transactional piece. You look into the wallet ecosystem as well, which is kind of shaping the whole way we pay. So it's kind of wallet. You get a wallet and you can pay whenever you want to, and you can add more payments to it and more stuff. So APAC will be then in the US. It's more kind of the open banking scenario where it allows you the access, and then you have the kind of the blockchain technology, which is again kind of around the globe, I would say. But again, it's depends on the regulator. It depends on the kind of compliance risk and other aspects. But I think at the moment, the technology, which is here since 2008, 9 as well, actually again goes back to the banking crisis 2009 when they 2008. I think so. It's kind of it's here. I think there's no dispute about the blockchain and the blockchain how can help. Now, when you think blockchain, that's the mechanics. I'm not talking about different coins and tokens on it, but the mechanics to make it happen, it's indisputable. And I think, it will be expanded. So that goes across different regions and ways. If you go to Europe, I think cards are still very popular in Europe. Let's say UK would be a huge card setup. Germany more into banking transfers, so come to bank. So every region has, and that's the challenge. Every region has kind of own specifics to go around and how to navigate. You're right. Yeah. So that's it.
There's always new technology on the horizon, especially in payment and AI.
Yes.
So before you actually invest serious time and money, what signal do you look for when deciding to test or adopt a new technology?
Yeah, so that's a process, and it has to be a process, kind of evaluated and properly validated, because it's a big leap, it's a big jump into something new, and that will require considerations around product, resources, investments, but also your partnership network in the house. So, for example, you might have a list of banking partners kind of allocated to you and supporting you, and they might be products related to crypto or blockchain, let's say. So some of the banking partners that are helping you open your accounts and helping you with kind of in the background with FX, they might not be happy with that development of blockchain. So you jeopardize then actually your network in situ, in place. Or if you go to agentic AI structures, some of the other banking partners might say, this may be too early, maybe do so that's one. So I would say you start with market appetite. I think you start with kind of the feedback that you gather through customer or businesses straight away. So when you're talking onboarding, you say, hey, it would be great if the onboarding would be just one click or would be automated. So that's one. Once you get the feel on the product and feedback you need, then you're looking at the integrational stuff and requirements, but also can we scale it down the line? Is that scalability, or is that kind of a bespoke solution for one client only? How we go about this? So that's kind of a filter. Number two, you need to quantify kind of the business grow, and obviously how do you achieve the return on investment as well. You can do it in parallel, so that partner could help you, and you both kind of thinking, yes, that's the way to go about it. Maybe pay by bank, adding to, let's say, different marketplaces as a method of payments. So you can do this. So ROI is very important as well to consider, because you will be spending lots of time and resources to develop it. Then kind of obviously you look at regulations, security, kind of resilience, cybersecurity to build on that stack to make sure that it's all kind of tied into it. So I would say 4 or 5 steps how you go about it, how you gather information to kind of roll it out.
Okay. So where in that journey do you personally get the most involved in that process?
Yeah, so I think that the cybersecurity, the scalability, the ROI are important, but I think I found really exciting, the feedback that you can receive from your customers, or different, events you go to, or you speak at a panel. And I always love the feeling that somebody raised a question, said, did you think about this way? And I go, that's interesting. So that feedback is priceless to build out on it. So for me would be that aspect, that kind of the first kickoff, the idea it's so exciting. But then those steps are kind of just part of the process, I suppose.
So let's make this very tangible for SME listener. So can you share a few examples of how technology has directly improved outcome for your SME customer?
So technology, you have a couple of things. AI technology would be the first part of it. It's tangible, as you said, Evelyn. So I think, you look at the automation of certain processes for our customers, which helps and speed up some processes. We, as a regulated entity, you need to be able to monitor and validate all the transactions that you have. You need to actually know who is sending the money and who is also receiving the money, which is very cumbersome. So that part is sometimes, kind of the onboarding, the speed up of the onboarding process is difficult. It's the key, and that could be kind of supported by AI technology. So we deployed recently a few players helping us with this aspect, with this bridge, to make it as fast as possible. So that's one technology around the monitoring as well as onboarding. And that needs to be very robust. It needs to be kind of cybersecurity proof as well, because that's filing, it goes back to different regulators to report as well. So you need to stand on it, over it. The second would be around real-time settlement. And from the consumer perspective, how to achieve some corridors for collections where it's difficult. So you can have examples of some of the blockchain involvement where you have exporters, like in shipping or agriculture, they're exporting, or beverages, they're exporting in countries, maybe like in Africa. They set up their entity on the ground, they sell, they receive money for this, local currency. And the challenge is then how do you use the technology to collect and transfer the currency into your local fiat currency. That's the blockchain using in there. You have on the customer or relationship management side, you redeploying the agents. So that helps kind of filter or narrow down some of the questions that the customer facing or the actual customer might have. So you don't need to get to a member of the team all the time. Some of those kind of challenges and fixes are quick, and the agent fully automate AI kind of projection, which is then kind of set up based on the years we are in the business, on the questions kind of narrowed, and we can navigate around it. Very sophisticated in the sense of the marketing kind of setup. So your questions around my password, my this and that, it's very, very simple. Go into the actually data provision to the agent, where you might ask, so when is my money arriving? The agent might then deep dive into the data transactional cloud, come back to and said, you get it in T or day next day, T+1, into account. It is with the bank XYZ at the moment. So those technologies we are kind of we introduced, we kicked that off, and they are live with us as we speak. So that was the process of enabling those kind of new technologies as I described.
So you mentioned onboarding fast, right? Real-time transfer tracking, and also corridor expansion. That's kind of things SME feel immediately in the cash flow.
Correct. So it's kind of, on the corridor expansion, it's a good point you raised there, because that's good. That should be relating on pricing and need. So that pricing has to be fully automated. Again, goes down to maybe the AI kind of support and selection, where you get the constant in real time update on pricing, or kind of the fetching data in terms of pricing, and you can decide on the pricing to pass on for that particular corridor for our businesses. That's also there. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yep. All right. So let's zoom out to the next few years, the future of this industry. So.
So, it's evolving very quickly, Evelyn. As you could see, in the couple of last years, we went through so many changes. And you have now, I feel the trend is kind of coming together and supporting each other more than before from different players. Remember, you have banks, the schemes, cards, so like Visa and MasterCard and all these guys. You have different fintech companies and different gateways and PSPs. You have the blockchain bridges. You have the AI coming into it now heavily, and the combination is really expanding very fast. And you feel you need to be part of it. AI, I'm referring to, you need to have maybe an AI manager kind of be in control, and so on and so forth. At the same time, I like kind of stuff to balancing out. I won't be kind of urging, panicking, and jumping to something that's not is brand new, open to technology, but you do some testing, first, and some evaluation with your customers first before anything else, as a regulated entity, which is always more difficult. But I think, as we mentioned, Evelyn, I think the agentic space could be very interesting. When you speak to teenagers at this age, and I have one teenager at home, and I know how painful it is. But let's say when you talk to them, so he might go on a kind of AI search, and he might go through all those steps to the point where the payment kind of sits. So that's the kind of last mile where if they have it set up and if they have the trust, it will take off very quickly. So that's one. And two, this AI technology, or agentic, if you like, in payments in particular, where the agent can decide kind of single-handed. It's kind of, how do you really control it? How do you make sure that Evelyn doesn't lose the money in transfer by agent? How do you make sure that, let's say, that the place you booked and you fly over to that place, it's booked and it's valid? And if not, how do you go about it? Is there any kind of chargebacks or refunds or claims that you could actually pursue? But I think that technology itself is very interesting, because it's, again, consumer-centric approach would be, is everything automated. You don't need to go and find your card or go into the banking transfer and all these things. So the combination of blockchain, and AI would definitely drive or impact the cross-border space going forward. There's no doubt about it.
Yep, I agree. We're seeing the move toward agentic automation and the world where AI becomes the parts of the payment flow itself.
Right. I mean, it's everything kind of going in the same direction, making the processes smarter, more efficient, and more impactful as well for you and me and customers and businesses. So yes, I think you come to the flow that is less in kind of less frictions in the flow, the better, the faster, the cheaper, and it allows not for funds get lost or delayed or questioned. So I think that impact for customers is the end goal, what you are looking at. I mean, it's funny with payments in general, Evelyn, because payments, for some people, it's not very interesting. So payments, oh God, how boring. But let's say that's good. That's good news in a sense that means it's working until the point is that, okay, where's my money now? So that suddenly everything explodes. So if nobody kind of raise the question, payments in industry or businesses, that's a good complaint to have. That means it's working. As soon as something happens, goes wrong or south, it explodes. Yep. So.
That's interesting.
Right, but the technology, I think the development and simplifying structures within payments. You have also more regulators that are more open to explore, different tokens, different digital assets related flows. So All in Hand is basically moving in that direction.
Finally, we come to the last part. It's for the viewer listening. So what advice would you to give to someone who's entering the fintech or digital payments today?
Oh, definitely do it. Definitely look at it.
Do it.
Join the family in payments and cross-border payments. It's something that could be very stressful. You might lose lots of hair about it. But it's rewarding. It's challenging. It's changing. You need to be really open to different solutions. Always on look for different technology that can help. And it doesn't need to be only technology in terms of the actual payment, but all the aspects around it. The KYC sharing, KYB kind of passing on. All those aspects. It could be data cloud. It could be storage in data. It could be bank infrastructure, neobanks. So you can come into this from a different angle, into the kind of the cross-border payment space, but it remains to be competitive. It remains to be very saturated and very fragmented still. But the world is huge. You have lots of countries, and a bit, before you have one payment rail, if that happens at all in some years, it's a long, long run. So I think there's still a lot of things to develop and explore. I would recommend, yes, definitely join the family of payments people.
So, Jan, there was an incredible conversation with you. Thank you for taking us through the entering room, everything in between. Your perspective on bridging the traditional finance and technology is something a lot of leaders, I think, will resonate with. Before, say goodbye to the viewers, any last part?
No, just to say thank you so much for having me. This is great podcast, and have the exposure to your audience is great. I hope it creates more questions and interaction down the line, and openness and questions at any time. So pleasure to be here. Evelyn, thank you so much for hosting this, and hopefully we speak soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And everyone, if you feel this is an insightful session, please like, share, and comments below. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode.